is Columbia's own Watch Fox News at 10.
So if we can get 3 or 4 days behind us, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape here.
Crews race against time to stop the spread of oil in the Gulf Coast. Good evening, I'm DARRYL Hood.
And I'm Ariel Raposta. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We have some good news for those trying to contain that massive oil spill in the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, calm winds, calm waters allow crews to step up their efforts as the oil moves closer to the coasts of 4 states.
But until the oil stops spreading, this is the spill that could have repercussions across the Southeast, including the Carolinas. Our team coverage tonight starts with Watch Fox reporter Brian McConchie live in Mobile, Alabama. Brian?
Well, Ariel, in the few hours that I've been here in Mobile, Alabama, I've learned an astounding statistic. 10,000 volunteers from all over this country have come to the Gulf Coast to help with the containment efforts with the U.S. Coast Guard and the National Guard as well, and what they're doing down here. But another staggering statistic is the price tag on this situation. As of late today, the federal government freeing up $25 million to help the affected states, the 4 states affected by this situation being Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, and of course Alabama. Now, earlier today, Alabama Governor Bob Riley getting a bird's eye view of the situation, taking a helicopter ride over some of the affected areas to get a better handle on what in fact this state and this region here in the Gulf Coast could be dealing with if that oil slick, which is currently 30 miles offshore, comes inland and actually makes contact with the beaches. There's a tremendous amount of containment going on right now to keep that at bay, and right now the officials believe they may have the upper hand. It's a big maybe, but they feel like Mother Nature may have dealt them a pretty good hand here and helped them maybe keep this thing offshore and maybe help them dodge a bullet.
It's a great thing that we have a few more days now to make sure that we get all of the boom, all of the barricades in place, but it is going up very, very rapidly.
What everybody might logically think is it's moving closer, and it must be closer. Not necessarily. We have found that where we thought we were going to have impact last Friday night and Saturday, the winds, the current shifted it, and the next thing you know, we have been given what I call a gift of time.
We all are about getting this thing closed down, stopping the flow, minimizing the impact, and actually keeping the public informed.
Now, you just heard from a British Petroleum executive there in those sound bites you just heard. They say there are 3 leaks that they're currently dealing with. They're hoping to, in the near future, have that capped down to 2 leaks. Of course, folks here along the Gulf Coast hope that happens sooner as opposed to later. Now, the one question we have to deal about back home, back in South Carolina, could this oil slick get into the Gulf Stream? I spoke to someone with the U.S. Coast Guard tonight who says the possibility is, of course, there. It is plausible that that could happen. But right now, they're more worried about it coming inland here. If that happens, it would be about 2 to 3 days from now, if it in fact makes landfall here, that oil slick. For now, reporting live in Mobile, Alabama, Brian McConchie, Watch Fox News.
Brian, and you heard Brian just say it is possible that a Gulf Stream could pull the oil towards the South Carolina coast. And if that happened, that could mean trouble for the state's shrimping industry. Watch Fox News reporter Emily Pace now. She continues our team coverage from Charleston County.
At this point, it's hard to tell how the oil spill will affect the upcoming shrimping season. Although industry officials are tossing around several different scenarios, ranging from good to bad.
The reeds is up and you got your ice.
Jimmy Scott is hanging on to the idea that this season's catch will bring in more money than last year's did.
If it does turn out where it ruins everything and they can't harvest, the bulk of their crop, then it will have a positive effect on our price.
A low-country shrimper for 42 years, Scott feels for his fellow fishermen in the Gulf. But it's quite possible that their loss could be his gain. Industry officials aren't worried about the possibility of the oil making its way up the coast by way of the Gulf Stream. They say if it did, it would likely float 70 miles off the Carolina shoreline, outside of the shrimping grounds.
Depending on how much oil gets around will depend on what damage it does here.
According to Frank BLUM of the South Carolina Seafood Alliance, the bulk of the domestic catch comes from the Gulf, and if the season remains closed, the pressure for fresh shrimp could fall on the shoulders of shrimpers like Scott.
The price of shrimp might go up, but if the price of fuel goes up, each one's going to cancel the other one out.
Scott's concern is that if the prices at the pump spike more than $3 a gallon, it will be difficult to reel in a profit. Even though these scenarios haven't happened yet, it's something that this businessman is watching and waiting for.
The shrimping season is still a few weeks away. It doesn't open till around the end of the month, heading into the first part of June. And that's when we'll have a better idea of how this oil spill will affect our state's shrimpers. In McClellanville, Emily Pace, Watch Fox News.
And the oil spill could also affect the Grand Strand fishing industry with less snapper and grouper available in the Gulf.